AEIS artists, welcome back. Fifth graders, today we are going to be starting on our masterpiece. We already did a mini masterpiece. You should have done a little worksheet so that you have lines, understand what type of lines you want to use in your Van Gogh inspired piece. And what our piece is going to be is it's going to be inspired by Van Gogh's olive trees. So I should have the original olive trees, but I don't. Anyways, you can either do olive trees, so trees that kind of recede back into the background, or you can make your olive trees cherry blossoms. So since we're here in Okinawa or in Japan, we have cherry blossoms as a tree that we see a lot of. And so you're welcome to change your olive trees. Instead of doing the green, you could do pink for cherry blossoms. So to get started on your masterpiece, you're first going to try and create your line. So you're going to try and have fun and roll a dice and trying to pick the type of lines that you should use. So I'm looking for at least 5 different types of lines. So on your little mini sheet, the color of your table again, you're just going to get started rolling your dice. 6. So my first roll is a 6, and so I would use thick lines. And again, with your oil pastel, to make a thick line, you're going to use the bottom of your oil pastel versus the side. And again, with oil pastels, you might want a paper towel handy so that if they get too dirty, or just to hang on to so that your hands don't get dirty. So everybody will have a little container of a variety of colors. The only color that you don't see in here is black, and we'll use black at the very end. Black is a very powerful color, and sometimes students get a little carried away with black. So you're going to first, again, roll your dice and get your warm up, basically. So let's do it again one more time. 3, and it is a bunch of short little lines. So for the short little lines, I'm going to use the side. And you're just kind of practicing. So we're going to warm up with our 5 rolls. And then once you're ready, put that aside so you have that handy so that you can see which types of lines you want to use. And of course, you can vary them, but it's kind of fun to have that. So we're going to start with creating our olive tree image. And you can pick any color paper. So again, I'll have a little cart with all sorts of papers on there. I picked blue. And again, remember that the color of your paper is going to show through. So you want to pick a paper that you'll be happy with the color showing through, because we're not coloring the whole thing up. Some of the paper will show through. For this piece, you can hold your piece either vertically or horizontally. So you decide. I'm going to start vertically. Before we get started drawing, once you pick your paper, you're going to pick a side and put your name, your teacher's name, and if you want to pick the color of your table, that's always awesome. I mean, getting the habit of putting those 3 things on your paper. We're going to start with pencil. So the first thing that we're going to do is, in this project, not only are we learning about the different strokes that Van Gogh used, but we're also going to think about a foreground, something close to you, a middle ground, something in the middle of your paper, and way in the background. Okay, so think about that, and as we go further back into our picture, things, especially our trees, are going to get smaller. So the first thing I'm going to draw is a sun, because in Van Gogh's we like to see that radiating sunshine. We never put the sun in the corner. Suns are not in the corner. You don't just see a little triangle of a sun. So decide somewhere where you want to put your sun. So I'm going to put my sun this time over here. Okay. The next thing is our mountain range. So in Van Gogh's piece, and even our piece here in Okinawa, we have mountains. And especially by the cherry blossoms, you can see a mountain range. They're all down the hill of the mountains. And so just kind of decide how you want to make your mountains. And again, I did my sun. And don't stress out about a circle. It's okay. And then a mountain line. The next thing that we're going to do is think about our olive trees and how twisted they are, even cherry blossoms. So because we want them to go narrower as we get closer to the horizon line, and I'm just going to draw a little horizontal line here for our horizon line. So this is my reference. I'm also going to I'm going to put a point. We're going to kind of do like 1 point perspective, and I'm going to draw a little line this way and this way. Now I know it's very difficult to see, but I created a little V because this is my foreground, and as we go into the background, my trees are going to get smaller. So I'm going to start here and I'm going to make my tree big, and we're also going to use the concept of overlapping. Okay, so cherry blossom trees as olive trees have kind of really interesting wiggly branches. And then as I go further into my background, I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. So notice that I'm having to go behind. I'm overlapping. And then as I go smaller, I'm going to make this one even smaller. And then smaller yet. So you're going to go all the way down. And I'm just kind of lightly going here so that we can all work. So the ones in your foreground are going to be really large. Okay. And again, you can either choose to do olive branches, so they will be more green. And then again, of course, I'm overlapping, so I'm going to erase some of your lines so make sure you go with your pencil and go lightly. So I'm going to place all my trees down with my twisted branches. And now I'm going to add some a pathway. So I'm just going to think about shadows. So I'm going to pretend, since my sun is here, my shadows are going to go this way. So I'm going to just kind of draw where I want my shadow to be. So I'm just drawing sketch lines. And then on this side, I'll be on this side. And some of these we won't see the shadows because of where they are. So I did my shadows. So again, my sun is here. So my shadows are going to be on this side of my trees. My next thing is to draw my ground. So the path that we would walk. And you can do it any way you like. So you can just kind of make it interesting. You can even put more trees so that it's not quite a V. So I'm going to put some more trees back here. Okay, again, I'm just making lines. I'm using straight lines and zigzag lines to make my trees. So I'm going to put a bunch of trees way in the background, okay? And now I'm just kind of making a path, so where people might walk. And again, I'm just kind of having fun with line, okay? So I'm just making a couple squiggly lines for my path and to create my shadows. So now we're going to start to add color. So looking at the sheet that you did your 5 rolls on, pick a color. So I think I'm going to go with my line number 6, which was the little lines, so little fat lines to go around my sun. So I'm going to start in the top and work my way down. So when you work with art, especially oil pastels, you need to start at the top of your page and go down. And that way your arm isn't being smeared all over. So I'm going to grab my yellows and oranges, and I'm going to first outline my sun, and then I'm going to go around it with these nice dashes. And again, I can use the fat part of my oil pastel, and I'm going to go all the way around. I'm going to change colors because I want to have a couple of variety of colors in it. And again, you can use a paper towel to hold on to your. So notice I'm letting my blue paper show through. I'm not coloring in completely. You certainly can overlap your strokes, and you're going to radiate out your color all the way. So my sky is going to have this wonderful radiation circle effect. And again, I'm going back and forth with my colors. Now, if you wanted to also add in your sky some clouds, I'm going to get my white, and let's say if I rolled another line and I picked some of these curly cues, I can make waves to indicate clouds. So since the sky is blue, I don't really need to add any blue. You certainly can if you want to, but I'm just going to add a few clouds. Okay. I'm next going to build up carefully, again, starting from the top and working my way down. I'm going to think of my mountain color. So you have brown, purple is also a good mountain color, and look at the types of lines that you can use. So I think for my mountains, I'm going to go with maybe little short and broken lines. You could also use some smooth and rough lines. So think about the texture of your mountains. And again, I'm going to first outline it, and I think I'm going to go with purple because I really like purple. And as things go back into the distance, usually they have a bluish or a purple tinge. And now I'm just going to add some little lines. And I'm just kind of going fast, but you guys take your time. You can add some brown in there to represent the mountain. And again, what we aren't doing is we aren't coloring it in. So we're going repetitive strokes. So you're thinking about your strokes. We are not coloring in, okay? So the paper should show through. I think even in these mountains, I'm going to put some green somewhere to represent the trees that might be in the mountains. Okay, so you're laying down color. And again, the paper should show through. Okay, so you're going to work your way down. I'm going to do my base of my trees before I think about if I'm doing cherry blossoms. So first I'm going to outline with some straight lines. Okay, and then inside mine, again, I should go up here to do my little one so my hand does not get in the way. Okay, so you're going to, again, start at the top, work your way down so that you're not smearing, because oil pastels smear. Once you get your bases of your trees in, then you're going to decide, am I doing cherry blossoms or am I going to do olive trees? If you're going to do cherry blossoms, you want to probably get your pinks and even the white. So you want to get a variety of colors, so have them out. And for the cherry blossoms, you might just want to just do a bunch of circles. So the ones in the foreground, the circles are going to be bigger. And again, you're going to color in your base of your trunks. And then I'm going to use a variety because we know that cherry blossoms have a variety of pinks. And you could even use purples for some shadows. So you're going to continue working on filling in your trees, and then cherry blossoms and or olive trees, which would then be green. Once your trees are in place, then we can add some nice shadows. So the shadows, I always like to use some purples, but you can really have fun. So again, if this tree was finished, my shadow would go this way. So I'm gonna make it like this, and then I'm gonna add some shadow lines. I'm even gonna add some blue to designate shadows. And again, this one might go this way for shadows. Here's a shadow, and you can even make them wiggly. So just kind of have fun creating your shadows. So you're going to do your paths, and then use 2 or 3 different pastels to just fill in the ground. So our end product should look something like this, where you have your sky, you have your mountains in your background. So the sky and the mountains are your background. Your middle ground are possibly the trees, you know, depending on the size. And then your foreground could be your path or even bigger trees. So you want to think about those 3 different sections of your design. So the rule of thirds is a principle of art where you think about foreground, middle ground, and background. You want to think about your strokes that your paper will show through. And you want to start again your artwork at the top of your page and work your way down. So I'm going to continue working on this so that we have an example, and I think I'll continue with the cherry blossom idea and while you guys are working. So again, you're going to pick whatever color paper you like. Use your table color. So if I was sitting at the yellow table, I'd have this as my reference so that I can practice on here so I can see what color and what types of strokes I'm going to do. So for this piece, my standards that you're working on are you're creating. You're using the artistic idea of Van Gogh and his strokes to create an original piece of artwork. Hopefully you're making a connection, so we're connecting with our artwork, especially if you're doing cherry blossoms. You're trying to make a connection personally to your artwork. And the way we're going to present these is hopefully we'll put them on a nice maybe black background or another color to create a frame and put them out in the hallway. Your I can statements are, today you can learn about space and think about foreground, middle ground, and background and use different strokes to create texture. So you can create texture. I can work with space. And today I've learned about, hopefully, Vincent van Gogh and tried to be inspired by his awesome use of different types of stroke to create movement and texture. Can't wait to see what these look like. Enjoy working with your oil pastels, creating a Vincent van Gogh, either grove of cherry blossoms or an olive grove inspired piece. Have fun.